feeling like I'm frozen. I just tryna keep it rolling. Got me feeling like I'm frozen.
What's happening, people? Welcome back to the Cornermen Podcast. This is episode 2. My name is Scott, and today we're going to be talking about the midweek fight night that was on July 15th. Number 6 ranked featherweight Kelvin Gastellum taking on number 10 ranked featherweight Dan Ige. And then also going to talk about some of the young talent on that card that, you know, you should probably keep your eyes on soon. And they're upcoming in the UFC, so you definitely want to keep your eyes on them. And then also going to talk about the Figueiredo versus Joseph Benavidez 2. This is the second time they're fighting. Their second fight for the flyweight title this past weekend. And also going to touch on the Jack Hermansson versus Kelvin Gastellum fight. So unfortunately, Shamir cannot make it today, and neither can Mohammed. So I'm joined just with my one guest today. So how you doing, Hassan?
What up? I'm chilling, ready to talk about this topic.
All right,
Get
sweet.
it started.
All right, sweet. So sounds good. So just gonna hop straight in. Some of the young talent on the card, the midweek fight card on July 15th, it was stacked with some young talent, don't you think?
The fights were pretty good. The whole, to be honest, most of the people fighting that card, I really didn't know them. But the fights were really good. The co-main event, the main event topped it. Really good fights. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good card. Like, honestly, at first, because I'll be honest, last podcast when we talked about it, I thought, the only fight I wanted to see was Kelvin Gastellum against Dan Ige. But when I looked at the card more, there was some really good, young talent on the card. We're going to go over and talk about it as well. So starting off, if you're looking at the fight card, you saw that on the didn't want to click that, but it was a good fight card. It was a good fight card. Enjoyed it a lot. Talking about the preliminary card, the first fight of the night, very interesting. I actually saw it. I was at work at the time, but I managed to get a glimpse of it. Jack Shaw submitted Aaron Phillips in the second round of their fight. That's back-to-back submission wins for Jack Shaw. I think he's only 26 as well, and this is his sixth fight in the UFC. He's pretty new to the promotion, still undefeated, moved to 13-0, really impressive. And if I was gonna compare him to a fighter that a lot of people would know, it would probably be Khabib. His takedowns are just immense. He's always on your back, always trying to get a submission. He's very dangerous. So definitely need to watch out for him. I would like to see him fight someone in the top 15, maybe in the next year or so. I'm not sure if he's ready for it yet. But from everything I'm seeing right now, he's an incredible fighter. I think I want to just double check and see if he is 26, because it doesn't say, it doesn't have it. But I'm pretty sure, yeah, he's 26. He's young. He's young in the UFC. So definitely want to check him out, see how good he is. Another person you want to keep your eyes on, Lerone Murphy. He hails from Manchester, England, so he's one of the homeboys. Took on a very, difficult opponent in Ricardo Ramos. Got the first round TKO. He looked solid. He looked really good, and everyone was saying Ricardo Ramos, he's a beast. He's going to run through Lerone Murphy. So Lerone Murphy moves to 9-0-1. Very, very good for him at featherweight. Definitely, he's an up-and-comer as well. Could definitely see him, cracking into the top 15 in the next year or so as well. Now, this guy, I need to pronounce this right, Khamzat Chimaev. This guy, I saw him fight John Phillips, and he was insane. The stats that he put up were insane. Total strikes landed in the entire fight, he landed at 88.6%. That is an insane stat. And he's making his UFC debut as well. He comes in and he completely dominated the fight. He went for takedowns. He shot on the ground. He was just pummeling John Phillips on the ground and managed to get the second round submission using a Darce choke. So he looked really, really good. And he's actually fighting again this weekend. He's fighting, it's a 10-day turnaround, which is something that you don't see that often. He's fighting at welterweight. I think he's fighting a guy called McGee. And this is going to be I think he's making history if he can make weight. He has to move from middleweight. He was fighting at middleweight during the midweek fight. He's going down to welterweight now to take on McGee this coming Saturday on the Whittaker versus Till card. Hassan, what do you think about that? I think it's a pretty ballsy move. You know, when you're talking about young fighters, you know, Dana White, he doesn't really want to push him too early. But from what I saw from the midweek fight card, all these guys, they looked really good. Like, they looked incredibly good. Jack Shaw looked great. Khamzat Chimaev was on a different level. You know, what are your thoughts on that?
Dana White, he actually put some decent fighters in that card. It was a midweek fight, so you don't expect a lot of big name fighters in that card. But the guy he put out in that card, they put a hell of a show. So that was a pretty entertaining for a midweek.
Yeah, and I'm sure, like, if you're a young UFC fighter, you know, you're making your debut, it's a midweek card, you know, maybe not everyone is watching it, and you want to make an impression. You know, Khamzat Chimaev made a huge impression on me. I've been really impressed with the guy. I look back and I saw some more of his highlights, and the dude's a beast. He looks really, really good. Jack Shaw, I've heard of him and I've seen some of his fights, and you know, from the minute I saw him, I knew like he's gonna be big soon. I don't think right now. I think not many people know his name, but keep an eye on him. He's gonna grow. He's gonna develop, and he's gonna, you know, turn into a really good fighter. So those were some of the young talents on the card. So if you're watching at home, definitely check them out, look at them, and, you know, go see their highlights if you're into MMA, and watch out for them, because Hassan and I believe that they can probably crack into, you know, the top 15 maybe in the next year or two. They are really impressive, really impressed us. So moving on to the Kelvin Kattar versus Dan Ige, the main card. The co-main event was actually pretty decent. Tim Elliott versus Ryan Benoit. And it's actually quite a big fight as well, because when you're talking about the flyweight division, you know, it's a vacant title until it wasn't this Saturday. But it's a big fight, you know. Both are competing pretty much for a place, pretty much for a contender spot, really, when you think about it. You know, both of them are fighting in order to, like, they want to fight for the title soon. You know, Tim Elliott, you know, he's getting older. He's 33. I think, was he 33 or 35? One of those. He's in his mid 30s, and he wants to fight for a title soon. He did win the fight over 3 rounds. I scored it 29-28. I scored it, 29-28 to Elliott. What was your scoring on that, Hassan?
It was a really close fight. I'd probably go with Elliott, because he literally pressured him. Like, the third round was out for grabs, and he took it to him. He was pressuring him off the fence, kicking, throwing punches and everything. He threw everything he had on him on that third round. So probably 29-28 is a fair score. Yeah,
he was constantly pressing Ryan Benoit for, like, he was constantly pressuring him, and, you know, putting him, like, Benoit's back was against the cage the entire time. You know, Elliott's pressure and his gas tank is insane. So would definitely like to see him fight. I would like to see him fight someone in the top 5. You know, I think him versus, you know, Kara Kai, France, from New Zealand. He trains out of City Kickboxing with Israel Adesanya, the middleweight champ. So, I mean, I think that would be a good fight. I think the pressure and, like, the back and forth would be great to watch. But Ryan Benoit, you know, he put on a good showing as well.
He took the second round. He landed the more significant punches. He took the second round. That's why Tim Elliott was forced to push him against the cage and do all that things he did up the the third round.
Yeah, he's a big, powerful guy as well. Like, he was landing, you know, some big shots on Tim Elliott. So I was honestly surprised that he didn't get, you know, a knockdown or, you know, any like that. But he also got Tim Elliott. He tried a submission attempt like twice, took him down as well. It was good. It was a good fight. Right. So definitely contenders to watch out for at flyweight. Moving into the main event, Kelvin Kattar versus Dan Ige, featherweight division. This is a huge fight. This is actually quite a big fight in the landscape of the featherweight division after Volkanovski defended it a week prior or a few days prior. Kelvin Kattar, he didn't need to take this fight. In all honesty, he could have looked for someone above him in the rankings, but instead he wanted to stay active. Dan Ige, Dan Ige's making a claim that he wants to, be fighting the best guys in the division. Recently just come off a decision win against Edson Barbosa. So Kelvin Kattar versus Dan Ige, 6 versus 10. It was a good fight. It was a really good fight. And I'll be honest, beforehand, I had Kattar just blitzing Dan Ige and saying, you know what, he's going to knock him out. He's going to send him into the next, the shadow realm, whatever. But it wasn't like that. What was your thought? What were your thoughts on it, Hassan?
It was a really good fight. I didn't expect that. But still, Kelvin Kattar's power, his movement, it was just too much for Dan Ige.
Yeah, I think sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, Dan Ige was really tough. He's still hanging there. Some of the rounds, he made it tough for Kelvin Kattar. He was landing shots, but it was just Kelvin Kattar was too much for him. Just landing the most powerful shots, the most significant shots. His movement was elite. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think in terms of the featherweight division, I think Kelvin Kattar has probably the cleanest boxing out of anyone in that division.
It's tough.
You think that
it's
too?
Hard to say that. I think Max does.
I think Max is more of a kickboxing kind of guy, but if we're just talking straight boxing, hands,
He got a lot of power.
Kelvin Kattar, he's a beast. He
He's got a lot of power in that right hand.
He does. I remember he dropped Ige, I think it was either once or twice in the championship rounds. I think it was the 5th round he dropped him at the end.
I think he dropped him once.
Yeah, I think he dropped him
but
once.
He was tough. Dan Ige was really tough.
Yeah, honestly, all credit to Dan Ige, because before the fight, I was just saying, Kelvin Kattar is going to blow him out of the water. Dan Ige can hang with the best in that division. He absolutely can. Take some time for, he should definitely take some time off. He did get busted up quite a bit, but he put on one heck of a fight. He did. He made it difficult for Kelvin Kattar. His movement and his striking is very, very good. He's very underrated. I think he stays out of the pocket long enough, and then his movement inside to land strikes is very effective. But again, it's just the length of Kelvin Kattar and his power just... It was a Kattar clinic, I'll be honest. It was a clinic by Kelvin Kattar. He was very calculated with what he did. He got a lot of good reads on Dan Ige, and he landed shots. He landed big, powerful shots. And for me, in terms of rounds, I had it 4-1 for Kattar. I think, yeah, it was a dominant win, but fair play to Dan Ige. He really did. He put on a good showing, and I would definitely like to see him fight in the future.
Yeah. Wait, what was Kelvin Kattar? What was his last fight against Kevin Lee?
No, it was against Jeremy Stephens.
Jeremy Stephens.
Yeah, Kelvin Kattar took on Jeremy Stephens at UFC 249. He knocked him out with that elbow.
He knocked him out
crazy.
Jeremy Stephens is really tough.
That dude can take a hit. That dude can take a punch, and how he sat him down.
When he kicks, it's you can hear it. Mm-hmm. With all the crowd, he's too powerful. Jeremy Stephens is so good. For him to knock him out like that, and then now winning a decision fight, he showed that he can go 5 rounds too. People thought he was only he was knocking people out, so people thought he can't go 5 rounds, but he showed he can go 5 rounds, and I'm excited to see his next fight.
Me too. I also want to point out as well that not only was, his hands and, his striking incredibly effective, his takedown defense, he stuffed 7 out of 7 takedowns from Dan Ige. Yeah. That's really impressive. And when you're talking about a gas tank as well, you have to be really fit to stuff takedowns, especially in the championship rounds. I know Dan Ige, I think it was the 5th round, he tried to shoot one, and Kattar, he had Kattar's left leg, and Kattar popped himself up with his right leg, readjusted in the air, and got out of it, which was incredibly impressive. And that takes so much energy to do as well. He he truly showed that he is a gas tank, and he was swinging, you know, full power shots until the end. He didn't slow down. He looked really, really good, you know. So I would really, and he also after the fight, he said, you know, maybe I'm next for the title. You know, what do you think? What do you think about that, Hassan?
He beat a number 10 guy, so I still don't know. I think he needs to beat like maybe the number 3 ranked guy or the number 1 contender to fight for like, one more fight, and then he can fight for the title. If he can beat any guy that ranked below him, and he can beat them, that would definitely make him a title contender.
Yeah, in terms of like looking at the featherweight division right now, you know, Volkanovski's defended the belt twice against Max Holloway, so I don't think I think Max Holloway's going to take some time off and maybe fight a top 5 guy soon. I don't think he'll go back for the trilogy right now because, you know, he's lost twice, so it's like you need to work your way back up in a way. I know Brian Ortega and the Korean Zombie have beef. You know, they've been going back and forth on Instagram and Twitter and all the socials, you know, and I do think they'll fight soon. Zabit's been inactive for like a year. Like, he hasn't fought in a year.
Number 3 ranked, right?
I think he's number 2. I'm not sure. I think, he's either number 3 or number 2. But he hasn't fought anyone in a while. I know there have been talks about him taking on Yair Rodriguez, which would be a crazy fight. Like, that's a striking matchup.
Incredible.
Yeah, the strike.
And we got a crazy submission game, Zabit. So
yeah,
interesting to see as well.
Like the Sam. Sorry, go ahead, Hassan.
So the possible title contender for the featherweight division is the winner of the Korean Zombie and Ortega against Alex Volkanovski. Is that what's going to happen?
That's what you want to happen?
I mean, I guess.
It's an underrated division, isn't it? Because there are like so many good fighters in it. You know, like
very. But it's like, I don't know. I think Yair Rodriguez should fight for the title too, because he knocked out the Korean Zombie, didn't he?
Yeah. I'll be honest.
That was an incredible knockout.
That was a crazy fight and an incredible knockout. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, I don't know how the Korean Zombie is ranked above Yair in the featherweight rankings. Yeah, I think TKZ is what's he? I think he might be 3rd. I think Ortega's 4th. I think Yair's 5th. Zabit is 2nd. So if we're talking like rankings and stuff, the TKZ he beat Frankie Edgar. That was his last fight. He beat Frankie Edgar in Seoul last year. And it's like, okay, yeah, you know, Edgar, he's slowing down a bit. All respect to him. He's, you know, he's a UFC Hall of Famer. He's a great fighter, but you know, he's kind of slowing down a bit and he's trying to figure out like what's his next fight in a way. But yeah, you know, I want to see Zabit versus Yair. I think striking matchup there would be insane. I think Ortega and the TKZ, the Korean Zombie, need to settle their beef.
Yeah.
I think.
So who do you want to see fighting for the title against Alexander Volkanovski?
I think Volkanovski's taken a break. He's fought twice in the span of a year. So I think he's going to take a break. You know, he's going to chill in Australia. I think Max wants to get right back in there and fight. And I wouldn't be against Max Holloway against Kelvin Gastellum.
That'll be a good fight.
I like that fight. Yeah.
A good striking fight. But I don't think Alexander Volkanovski wants to take a break. He looks hungry. He just want to defend the title like Israel did.
Yeah, but it's also kind of clogged in that division in a way. It's like, you know, it's kind of like the heavyweight division as well, with, you know, Stipe and Cormier trying to figure out their beef, and they've signed the contract, so they're going to be fighting soon. You've got Francis Ngannou, who literally knocks everyone out, and you've got Curtis Blades, who keeps. No one wants to fight Francis Ngannou. No one. And you've got Curtis Blades, who he keeps winning and he's, keeping his name in the hat, in terms of heavyweight contention. It's kind of the same at featherweight now, because you've got a lot of fights that need to happen in order to determine who fights for the title.
That's true.
You've got a lot of contenders that have made a claim and fighters that, fights that need to happen. So it's a difficult one.
If anybody's fighting for the title, it has to be Yair Rodriguez. He's been impressive.
That's what you believe?
I think so, yeah.
I think,
especially if he's fighting Zabit, it has to be the winner of that fighting for the championship.
Yeah.
Because the Korean Zombie lost against Yair Rodriguez, so it's like if you give him the chance before Yair Rodriguez, he lost to him, so.
It's unfair. And I know the Korean Zombie's been very active, but so is Yair. I think his last fight was against Jeremy Stevens in Mexico City, I believe.
And
or Boston.
Wait, then they fought again, right? After the Mexico City incident?
So I think it was in Boston originally, and it was in Mexico City originally. It was a no contest due to an eye poke. Yeah. They had beef in the hotel lobby, and they were like, I'm gonna knock you out. I'm gonna knock you out, whatever. This was against Jeremy Stevens. They fought again in Boston, and Yair won. It was a pretty convincing win as well.
Yeah.
So he's been staying active. Even if it's not like one of the top 5, he's taken on someone who's very tough in Jeremy Stevens. He's taking on someone that's got a resume in this sport. So definitely. There's a lot to figure out at featherweight, but I wouldn't be against Holloway against Kelvin Gastellum. I think that would be a crazy fight. I think if Holloway beats Kattar, that puts him right back in the title picture, because Kattar's like kind of on the rise, and if Holloway stops that, then Kattar needs to go fight someone else. If Kattar wins, he's number 1 contender. He gets the shot. If he can beat Max Holloway, one of the most dominant featherweight champions, I don't see why Kelvin Gastellum doesn't get that shot if he beats him. Yeah.
I agree.
So there's a lot to figure out at featherweight, but it was a great main event. In terms of Dan Ige, I would like to see him again soon. I think someone like Josh Emmett maybe in a year. That would be a good fight.
I wouldn't mind seeing him against Jeremy Stevens too, because Jeremy Stevens lost against Yair Rodriguez and Kelvin Gastellum.
Yeah, I think it would be a good fight. I think Dan Ige would cause problems. I think the power advantage would be with Jeremy Stevens, but in terms of maybe wearing him down and having a gas tank, I think maybe Dan Ige would be better. So there's definitely a lot to figure out at featherweight. It was a great main event, really good midweek fight card with lots of good young talent as well. But now we're going to move on to the fight card that happened this past Saturday, which was the Flyweight title. It's been vacant for a while, but now we're going to talk about the two. I'm going to touch on some young talent that was on that card as well. In the preliminary card, we saw at the lightweight division, I'm going to butcher this name, Zarukin. He was really impressive. His striking, his takedowns. I know he only landed 1 of 5, but he really impressed me. He's only 23 years old, I believe. He's 15-2 now in the promotion, which is a very good record. He looks really good. Definitely want to keep your eyes on him. He's definitely going to, he's going to go places. I honestly could see him in the top 15 in a few fights time. Give him 2 to 3 fights, he can hit that top 15 at the lightweight division, and that's a stacked division already as well. So definitely want to see him fight. Someone like Alexander Hernandez, I think, would be a great fight for him to push him up the rankings. But he was very impressive. Brett Johns moves to 17-2. He got a decision win over Montel Jackson. Looking at the fight, Brett Johns shot 19 takedowns. He wanted to take that fight to the ground badly. He did 8 times, and he beat up Montel Jackson on the ground, tried a submission attempt. He looked very good. Would definitely like to see him, the bantamweight division, it's getting more and more stacked. Like, I would want to see him fight a top 15 guy soon. I think he's ready. Someone like maybe a Dong Song, someone that's more kind of more of a striker. I think he needs to work on his striking if he wants that fight personally, but I do think he can win it, if that makes sense. I think his takedowns, and he's just going to overwhelm you, Dong. So definitely want to see that. Little bit of a sad note, but Joe Duffy, he retired this weekend. He actually retired after his fight. He said on his Instagram post, he's not cut out. He's not cut out to be one of the best in the sport anymore. But he's one of the only few people to beat Conor McGregor. So gotta pay respect where respect is due. Joe Duffy, thank you for everything you've done for this sport, and enjoy your retirement. So that was a bit sad, but the best of luck to him in his future and his future endeavors. In terms of the main card, it was a good main card. We're gonna talk about the co-main event, Jack Hermansson versus Kelvin Gastelum. In terms of the fight, it went very quickly. Jack Hermansson only needed a minute. Kelvin Gastelum, after losing to Jack Hermansson, he's now on a 3-fight losing streak. Jack Hermansson gets back in the win column. I'll be honest, it was kind of amateur hour from Kelvin. In terms of, there was nothing happened in this fight. 2 strikes were landed, a takedown was shot by Kelvin, and he managed to get submitted due to a heel hook. Jack Hermansson submitted with a heel hook in 1 minute. And if you look at the fight, it was really sloppy from Kelvin. And I have absolute respect for MMA athletes, of course. This is just my opinion. I personally believe Kelvin Gastelum is better than that. This is not the same Kelvin Gastelum that you saw. Yeah, go ahead, Hassan.
If that fight didn't go on the ground, I think if they stood up, Kelvin Gastelum would easily win the fight. Because his striking is just crazy. I don't think Jack Hermansson, his power on that left hook, it's just crazy. I don't even know why he shot a takedown, but it is what it is. Jack Hermansson, he got a good ground game, so he could easily submit. It was a little unfair to Kelvin Gastelum because very disappointing too. I think after this he has to go back and fight the uppercomings to mix himself against the big names in the middleweight division.
I agree. I don't know what's up with Kelvin. I think he needs a change in camp, change in weight class. He's 5'9", and he's fighting at middleweight. Maybe he can go back down to welterweight. I know he started his career there, but just something needs to change. He's on a 3-fight skid now. I don't think it's dented his stock any. I don't think his stock has been dented because of it. But I want to see him fight someone in that middleweight division that's kind of a name. I want to see him fight someone.
Yoel Romero. 3 fights losing streak.
I know Yoel Romero scheduled. Yeah, I know Yoel Romero scheduled to fight Uriah Hall. But maybe that could actually be a nice little contrast. So Jack Hermansson has won. He's staying in the top 5 contenders at middleweight. We know Israel Adesanya is going to fight Paulo Costa, which we're going to talk about more in the podcast next week. But in terms of Jack Hermansson and Kelvin Gastelum, I think when you look at Yoel Romero versus Uriah Hall, the winner of that fight takes on Jack Hermansson. The loser takes on Kelvin Gastelum. I think, I know that Uriah Hall and Kelvin Gastelum are friends, but, you could definitely, I could see that fight happening. I could see, if Romero wins, I could definitely see him fighting Jack Hermansson. It'd be a good wrestling bout. And then I could definitely see Uriah Hall and Kelvin Gastelum. Like, friends fight all the time in this sport. You know, you meet them and they fight. So I could definitely see Kelvin Gastelum fighting Uriah Hall if it goes that way, or vice versa. I could see Jack Hermansson fighting Uriah Hall, Yoel Romero fighting Kelvin Gastelum. So they've got a nice little, I believe that the UFC have a nice little pairing there at middleweight, because I don't think Jack Hermansson has made enough of a claim to fight for the title next. When he got finished by Jared Cannonier, you know, a year ago. I don't think he's got.
I think, Cannonier should be, like, he doesn't have a lot of names, like Leon Edwards. You know how Leon Edwards, he's not fighting for the title because a lot of people don't know him like that. Jared Cannonier doesn't have a name. And you've heard Israel Adesanya talk about him. He's like the dark horse of the division.
Yeah.
I'm looking out for him and stuff like that. He really is. He's very talented. His leg kicks are powerful. Remember when what he did to Anderson Silva? That was nasty.
I agree.
He made him quit with that leg kick.
He started out as a heavyweight as well. We have to remember that he's moved down. So he started at heavyweight, he moved to light heavyweight, and now he's at middleweight, and he's definitely found his division. Like, he's definitely found it, and he's got that power. He has that power. You know, the Anderson Silva fight cleaned him out with leg kicks. You know, the Jack Hermansson fight, you know, he KO'd him in, you know, like, I think it was the first round. So he's very good, you know, and the thing about being very good is that you need to also be kind of active in the social scene as well in order to make that claim. Because like what you said with Leon Edwards in the welterweight division, he's fought some names. You know, he fought the former champion Rafael Dos Anjos and he beat him. But he needs that personality outside the octagon. Like, you look at, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So you look at like Darren Till, you know, he's come into this middleweight division, and he beat Kelvin Gastelum last year at UFC. I think it was 247, and it was the BMF title fight. He beat Kelvin Gastelum, and he's in the top 5 contenders for middleweight right there. His next call out had to be a big name.
Title.
Yeah,
it has to be the title.
It has to be the title. But
if he beats Robert Whittaker,
he called out Robert Whittaker. If he beats Robert Whittaker, he has to be next for the title. He's staying active. He's taken on the number 1 contender. If he beats him, he fights for the title. If you're Jared Cannonier, you're kind of in like a hole right now, because you don't really, you've beaten everyone below you pretty much, and you can't really fight anyone above you as well. Like, so it's difficult. It's difficult right now in terms of who to fight. If I would like to see, potentially, if Yoel Romero does beat Uriah Hall or vice versa, either one of them could fight Jared Cannonier, and I'd be okay with that, and leave Jack Hermansson out the picture for now. Because I think Cannonier deserves a big name.
I mean, Jack Hermansson is coming off an impressive win, so they might give him that fight.
Yeah, I agree. Or he faces the loser of Whittaker Till, and if he can win that fight, then he's next in line for the title after Pablo Costa.
He needs one more fight just to put himself in there. It's just, he's already there. I can see him fighting for the title, but if he beats one more fighter that's big in that middleweight division, he will be up there. He should be fighting for the title.
Absolutely.
Probably next year.
Yeah, so we're definitely going to keep an eye on middleweights. We're going to talk about them a lot more next week when the middleweight picture is made clear after Whittaker versus Till. Moving into the main event from this past Saturday, it was Deiveson Figueiredo versus Joseph Benavidez 2, second time they fight. They fought earlier in the year in Norfolk, Virginia, Chartway Arena. Deiveson Figueiredo missed weight The flyweight limit is 125 pounds.
That's
Davison
crazy.
Figueiredo was 127.5, so he could not fight for the title. He was not eligible to win the title with a win. Benavidez made weight, and he was the only one. If he won the fight, he was the only one that could win the title. Fight goes on. Round 1, Benavidez kind of pieces up Figueiredo. His punches didn't really do anything. He was tagging him though. He won the round. Second round, Benavidez throws a punch, leads with his head. Figueiredo covers up, but also leads with his head. They headbutt. Huge cut over Benavidez's left, on like the left side of his head. And then gets knocked out by Davison Figueiredo in the second round. So flyweight belt still vacant. Second time round, both fighters make weight, and it was pretty violent in a way from Davison Figueiredo.
Oh, God.
Honestly, a lot of people did not want this fight to happen because they said it's going to be exactly like the first time around. For me, I like Joe Benavidez. I like that he's a top dog at flyweight. You know, he's been there for the past 9 years or whatever. Like, he's been doing this for a long time, and he's a dog. He's a top contender. But Davison Figueiredo is just a different animal at flyweight.
God damn. He knocked him out 3 times before he submitted him. Then
he knocked him down 3 times in that first round before he submitted him with a rear naked choke, and Benavidez was out cold. Like, his eyes were open, but he was unconscious. It was insane. It was. And it was very dominant.
I salute Joe Benavidez because he was really tough. It's just his toughness. He got knocked out 3 times. He still tried his best to fight back. He tried to submit him the first time. He managed to escape that submission, and then the second time he got him with the choke. He was really tough. He couldn't tap in. The ref had to stop the fight. That's how tough that man was. But respect to Figueiredo, he won the flyweight title, the new flyweight champion. Commiseration to Joe Benavidez. Hope to see him fight a top 5 contender real soon.
Yeah, looking at the fight, I've got the statistics in front of me. This was only like a 1-round fight as well. So within that 5-minute time frame, Davison Figueiredo scored 2 knockdowns. His total strikes, he landed 88.9% of his total strikes. 87.5 of them were significant, and he had 4 submission attempts. That is absolute domination. Like, that's insane. It really is. And that's scary as well. Like, if you're a flyweight and you're looking up and you're looking to put your name in a hat as a contender in that division, do you really want to fight Davison Figueiredo? Like, the guy he's ridiculously strong. He's big for flyweight. He's powerful. He can submit you. He can knock you out. He really does have a well-rounded arsenal of skills. And it was on full display just in 5 minutes in that first round against Joe Benavidez. He can knock you down and he can submit you. And he looked incredible. So I don't really know where, it's just, it's insane. It really is. Like, I was kind of like dumbstruck. I honestly thought that we're probably going to get, maybe like 3 or 4 rounds out of this fight. No, it was done. Like, I honestly thought Benavidez would hang in there, but it was just complete domination from start to finish from Figueiredo. Like,
yeah, it was a crazy fight. It's just Joe Benavidez didn't even stand a chance. Like, he dominated. Wait, do you see any other flyweight that can challenge for the title? Do you see any prospect that can really give Figueiredo a challenge?
I think it's difficult because there are not many like top names at flyweight, if I'm being honest. I think maybe Brandon Babyface Moreno. I think he's probably been on the best win streak at flyweight in order to get that title shot. I don't see him beating Figueiredo, but I see him getting that next title shot. If I'm being honest, the only two people that could beat Figueiredo at flyweight would be Demetrius Johnson and Henry Cejudo. Those would be my only two.
I guess. I mean, they're not around to fight him, but
I know, yeah, and it sucks, you know. It sucks that Demetrius Johnson, he's off doing his, you know, he's off continuing his career in one championship. And
wait,
then
didn't he stop there? I think he stopped.
I thought he was still going. I know he moved over to one championship, but he's still fighting.
I know he did, but I thought I saw a tweet. I might be wrong.
Yeah. And then Triple C, he announced his retirement, and he's also talking about going up to featherweight to take on Volkanovski. But I'm sure, like, it intrigues him. I'm sure it intrigues Triple C to see Davison Figueiredo and Petr Yan, you know, win his belt. Because Triple C, you know, he won the flyweight belt, defended it. He won the bantamweight belt, defended it. So I could definitely see maybe him coming out of retirement and just getting the belt back. I know there's been talks, and I don't know why, but Cody Garbrandt wants to go down to 125, but I think that's a terrible idea. Like, here's the thing. I like Cody Garbrandt. I think he's a great striker, really fast, you know, probably one of the best boxers in the bantamweight division. I don't think his body could handle him shrinking down to 125.
Right.
He already said he's having problems with his liver, and he's got like a hurt liver and stuff. So to me, that doesn't make sense. The only two people that make sense.
I know that bantamweight division.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I said he should stay in the bantamweight division. I mean, it's stacked. It's more challenging, but he should just, he's used to that weight. Like, he doesn't need to cut like 10 more pounds to fight for the flyweight title. So he should just stick in the bantamweight. It's a pretty good fighters in that bantamweight division. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do next.
Yeah, and like he's the former champion of that division as well. I'm sure there's a little bit internally for Cody Garbrandt to think, you know what, I want to go back and get that title again at bantamweight. Yeah. You know, like maybe he thinks the road is easier at flyweight because he would be a lot bigger than a lot of the flyweights, but you're sacrificing a lot of weight and a lot of size in order to shrink down to get to that flyweight weight, which is 125. So I think it'd be really difficult for him. I think him talking Cody Garbrandt, I think he should fight Marlon Moraes. You know, Marlon Moraes is looking for a fight right now. I think that'll be a great stand-up fight between him and Cody Garbrandt. In terms of the flyweight division and the flyweight picture, I think most likely Brandon Moreno gets the next crack. But Figueiredo, I feel he's going to be a champion for a long time. I don't see anyone beating him apart from if Demetrius Johnson would come back to the UFC or Triple C. Yeah, I don't think he will either. I think that trade's done and dusted. Him or Triple C comes out of retirement and takes the belt off him. That's what I see.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it's not the most stacked division, I'll be honest, flyweight, but it's a division. I know Dana White was talking about axing it, but it's an interesting division. And with a very dominant champion in Davison Figueiredo, it's gotten very interesting now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of that, I think, maybe, I know there's been talk as well that maybe Figueiredo goes up and fights Petr Yan for the bantamweight bout, champ fight. Would you be against that?
Not really. It's going to be a tough fight, but there are many bantamweight contenders that needs to that are really good and that needs to challenge for the title. So I really want to see those fights, like Cody Garbrandt, Dominic Cruz.
Aljamain
He
Sterling.
kicked like Aljamain Sterling,
Mm.
Marlon Moraes. So we still have dogs in that division. So I would rather see fights in the bantamweight division than flyweight against bantamweight. That's what TJ Dillashaw trying to do, but he failed miserably.
Yeah.
That was bad for him.
Yeah, it wasn't great for him. It wasn't great that it was an EPO either. I think it's too soon to do a champ fight between Petr Yan and Deiveson Figueiredo, simply because they need to defend the belt a few times first. I think Petr Yan, the most obvious matchup is Aljamain Sterling for the bantamweight title. So Petr Yan versus Aljamain Sterling. For Deiveson Figueiredo, he needs to defend it a few times. So most likely Brandon Moreno would be next in line. I know we talked Tim Elliott, he had a good showing, so maybe he can push up in the contender, maybe take on Deiveson Figueiredo. Askar Askarov, he won his fight over the weekend as well against Andre Pantoja. So maybe he moves up and becomes he moves up the rankings at flyweight and is a contender for the title in the title picture. So there are a lot of ways it could go. So, yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing how it pans out. But yeah, that's kind of what happened over the last two fight nights. Next week, going to be talking Robert Whittaker versus Darren Till. Huge fight in the middleweight picture, and we're definitely going to be touching on Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa. It has been confirmed, but we're going to talk about it more next week when the middleweight picture is a lot clearer. So, Hassan, thank you so much for joining me this evening. It's been a good chat. Figured a lot out.
You're welcome, bro. Anytime.
Yeah, so really enjoyed that. So, yeah, thank you for watching at home as well. Please do leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and yeah, stay tuned for more Cornermen Podcast very soon. Thank you for enjoying episode 2. Take care and have a good night, everyone.